Hi, sorry to cut in. Before I start, I just wanted to say that for the entirety of this video, I say Sharpie instead of fine liner. So just know that when I say Sharpie, I mean fine liner every single time. Anyway, enjoy the video. So today I'm doing a Zentangle tutorial. It's going to be on my iPad. I'm not going to do a physical drawing, but everything I say could easily translate to a physical drawing. For my Zentangle drawings on my iPad, I use Procreate. If you have a free app similar to Procreate, please write it down in the description because I don't know of any good free apps for artists. So if you do know one, please write it down. It'll help me out. It'll help a lot of other people out. But before I get started with this, I just want to let you know that I do have a Patreon that you can subscribe to where you get a whole bunch of perks. You can go and check that out. I have an Etsy where I sell some of my art, but probably most importantly right now, I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. So if you could like this video, share, and possibly subscribe, that would really help me out. Oh, I also have coloring books available on Amazon. All of that stuff is going to be linked in my description, so you can go and check that out down there. So anyway, this is going to be a pretty simple tutorial for beginners, I guess. But like I said in my mandala tutorial video, take everything I say with a grain of salt because I am self-taught. I'm in no way a professional at Zentangle drawings. I just do it for fun. So for all I know, I could be doing this completely wrong. I'm just going to show you how I do it and how it's been working for me. I don't know if I'm making Zentangle drawings completely accurately. I don't even know if there's a right or wrong way to do it. I just do it however I get the most joy out of it because I do draw for fun. Yes, I'm trying to make art my full-time job, but first and foremost, art is a hobby and my passion, so I'm always just trying to have fun with it. So let's just get into it. First, I need to create a canvas. Most of my canvases, I do them square. 14 by 14 inches is my normal canvas size that I always use. And for a lot of my Zentangles, I'll put a drawing guide over my canvas depending on what patterns I do. For this one, I'm gonna put a grid because I want to do a border. I find that I really like borders on my Zentangle drawings. If you're doing a Zentangle drawing physically, you can draw a grid with a pencil and then erase it afterwards. But for me to do a border, sometimes I do messy borders. Let me show you. Sometimes I do messy borders where I don't use a ruler. For example, this is a messy border. I didn't use a ruler, so you can see the imperfections that I did. And then another example of a border that I did is this one where I did use a ruler, so it's very straight. So you could do a border on a physical drawing without a drawing guide. I never use any grids for borders on my physical drawings, but I do on my digital drawings because I'm not about to take out a ruler and measure out the lines. So I just want to make sure they're as even as possible. So I'm going to start off with making my border. Oh, another thing, I did create a round brush. You can use any brush you want. There's inking brushes that I recommend. I just don't like the pressure sensitivity, so I made my own with no pressure sensitivity. So if you go into your brush library and click plus, you can create your own brush. So just do it to your own preferences. These are my preferences. And then I just choose what size I want my brush to be. That's a good size. I'm gonna make the details pretty big in this drawing because I want it to go quickly since it's just a tutorial. That feature in Procreate is honestly a lifesaver because in digital drawings, I can't draw straight lines for shit. So that's been a true lifesaver. And then once I'm finished drawing my border, I usually zoom in and I clean up the lines. I like for my lines to be very sharp. And then on a physical Zentangle drawing, you can't really do this. There's no erasing when you're doing Sharpie. So I suggest drawing your border in pencil first, doing all the measurements if you're doing a clean border, and then when you go in with your Sharpie, align the lines as well as you can because you can't go in and erase with a Sharpie or with a fine liner, I mean. And for my physical Zentangle drawings, I always use fine liners. My preferred brand of fine liners are Microns. I also use Faber-Castells and I've also used Artist Loft, but Microns and Faber-Castells are the #1 brands that I would recommend. So now that your border is drawn, a very simple way to make a Zentangle is to draw a squiggle on your canvas. Make sure there's different sections so your squiggle can't just be a line. The lines have to intersect with each other to create different sections. And then in each section, draw a different pattern. But first, I'm gonna erase these lines because I don't want anything to be outside of the border in this drawing. So at this point, I'm gonna switch over from filming on my phone to screen recording so you can see the entire process of me drawing this Zentangle. And then I'm gonna show you a different way of doing a Zentangle drawing. And as for the patterns that I use, these are patterns that I've learned over the past decade that I've been doing Zentangle drawings. I'm 23 now, and I've been drawing Zentangles since I was 14 or 15 years old. So the best advice I could give you for this is what I did, which was I learned a lot of my Zentangle patterns on the internet, whether it was YouTube, now TikTok, Instagram, any social media where people post their drawings. I observed what other people did, and in the beginning, I would copy and paste the patterns that other people did. And now what I do is if I see a pattern that I like, I learn it and then I alter it to my preferences, whether it's the way I like to draw or whether it's the way that I like it to look. So with that, you're really just gonna have to do your own research. There are so many videos out there, especially on TikTok, where people teach you patterns step by step that I found really interesting and useful. And honestly, your patterns can be as simple or as complicated as you want. This is where you get to let your creativity flow. In my opinion, there's no right or wrong. If you think it looks good, then it looks good. So another way that you can make a Zentangle drawing, let me show you. Same process as before. Physically, you can do this too. Instead of making a squiggly line and drawing patterns in each different section, what I do, physically, I'll go in with a pencil. So maybe I'll change my brush to a pencil and I'll create different sections. So maybe I want this section to be one pattern and I want two different sections to be two different patterns. And then sometimes I will do a border with this type of Zentangle drawing. So in a physical drawing, I'll sketch it out with a pencil. And then I do have a book with all my patterns that I've learned over the years. They're numbered. So let's say the first pattern in the book, I want it to be in this section, and then the second and third pattern, I want pattern number 2 to be here, pattern number 3. I'll write those down with a pencil and then I'll go in with my Sharpie. I do not outline these lines. This is just a rough outline of the idea for my drawing, and then I'll go in and I'll draw my pattern. So the first pattern, I want it to reach these lines, so that's where I'll stop, and then 2 and 3 I'll do inside these areas. And before I start this drawing, another thing I do like to do is, let's say I do want to have a border. I'll draw the border, and this is going to be pretty rough because this is not going to be the final product. And then my pattern, let's say I'm drawing this type of pattern. This is just a really rough and bad example of a pattern, but the pattern goes over the border. I'll go in and I'll erase everywhere that the border is intersecting with the pattern, but this little area where the border is not intersecting with the pattern, I'll keep that there, giving the illusion that my drawing is a little bit elevated and the background is further away. So let me just show you that again. I draw a random pattern. So everywhere the pattern is, I'll erase the border. But where I didn't draw the pattern, the border is still showing. You get the idea. And then sometimes I won't even draw the border with a Sharpie. Okay, my phone stopped recording, so you're just seeing the drawing right now. But what I was trying to explain is sometimes I won't even draw the border with a Sharpie, but I'll stop the pattern where my guideline is. So the intention is still to have a border. It's just not a clear-cut border. I don't know if that makes sense. I hope it does. For this drawing, I'm not 100% sure what I'm gonna do. If I'm gonna do the first option of the border, which is drawing the border with a Sharpie and then going over it with my pattern, or if I'm not gonna have an outlined border, but my pattern will just stop where my guideline is. I think I'm just gonna see how it goes, and I'll come back to you when the drawing's done. So those are the two ways that I do Zentangle drawings. I hope I explained them well. I have been told in the past that I'm not very good at explaining things, so I hope everything that I said makes sense. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I will answer you. And like I said at the beginning of the video, I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers on this channel, so if you want to subscribe to my channel or even like the video or share the video, that would help me out a lot. And I also have a Patreon where you can get many different perks. On one of the tiers, you can get one Zentangle per month. You'll also have access to all of the coloring books that I already put out and all of the ones that I intend to put out in the future. I have an Etsy where I sell some of my art. I'm working on prints right now, so those are going to be coming in the future. So all that stuff is linked in my description, along with my Instagram and my TikTok. So if you want to support me, you can go and check out all of my links in the description. So I hope this video was helpful to you, and I will see you guys next week.